East Africa. 2.5 million years ago, a carcass lies rotting in the grass. The heat is oppressive. Flies rise from the wound in clouds. Vultures circle overhead. Hyenas watch from the rocks. And a small group of humans, not quite our species yet, stand at the edge of it, empty-handed. They want the meat. They cannot get to it. Their teeth are not sharp enough to tear the hide. Their fingernails cannot cut through sinew. Every minute they hesitate, the hyenas get bolder. If they do not figure this out, they will lose the carcass, and possibly their lives. One of them picks up a stone, strikes it against another. A flake breaks off. Its edge, newly exposed, is sharper than any tooth or claw in the natural world. They slice through the hide in seconds. Within minutes they are eating, tearing the meat free before the hyenas can close in. That flake is the first knife. Everything we are, everything comes from that edge. That moment is called the older one, 2.5 million years old. Older than our species, Homo habilis, the handy human, is named for the knives they made. Before fire, before clothing, before language as we know it, before anything else we recognize as human, there was the knife. Everywhere humans went, the knife went first. Stone flakes from Ethiopia, obsidian blades from Armenia, flint from the chalk hills of England. Every continent our ancestors colonized, they carried a knife. Here is the part nobody tells you. The knife changed what we are. Look at your teeth. Your canines are almost nothing. Flat, small, useless for tearing meat. You did not evolve them away by accident. You evolved them away because you did not need them. The knife was doing their job. Our jaws shrank. Our teeth softened. Our gut shortened. We no longer needed the long intestines of a raw meat eater. The knife pre-chewed our food for us. It rewrote the human body, one generation at a time. A chimpanzee spends 6 hours a day chewing. A human spends less than 1. That difference is the knife. All the time we do not spend chewing is time we spent doing something else. Building tools, raising children, thinking. For most of prehistory, the knife was not a weapon. Sharpened arrowheads were weapons. Spears were weapons. The knife was for meat, hide, cord, bone. It was the first true multi-tool. Then came metal. Copper, around 9000 BC. Bronze, around 3300 BC. Iron, around 1200 BC. Each one made the knife harder, sharper, and easier to manufacture. And something changed. Rome's gladius, the short sword that conquered the ancient world, was essentially a long knife. Roman soldiers were trained to stab, not slash. A knife in the gut kills faster than a cut across the arm. By the medieval period, a knife was your identity. Peasants carried a single knife on their belt from childhood. It was spoon, fork, tool, and weapon. At a medieval feast, you brought your own knife. There were no communal utensils. If you were a man of status, your knife was jeweled. If you were poor, your knife was the only thing you owned that cost money. And that is when the knife became dangerous at the dinner table. Guests used their personal knives to eat. Sharp knives, pointed knives. After dinner, drunk, armed men often picked their teeth with them. Fights broke out. Assassinations at banquets were a known political tactic. In 1440, the 10-year-old Earl of Douglas and his younger brother were invited to dinner at Edinburgh Castle. Halfway through the meal, a black bull's head was brought in on a platter. It was the signal. Both boys were dragged outside and killed. The Black Dinner, murder at the table, was not fiction. It was policy. By the 1600s, European dinner tables had become dangerous places. 1669, France, the grandest court in Europe. Cardinal Richelieu, the most powerful man in the country, the political architect of modern France, has seen one too many guests pick their teeth with dagger-tipped knives at his table. He snaps. He issues an order. Every knife in his house is to have its point ground off, rounded, blunted at the tip. A knife you cannot stab with. A knife you cannot pick your teeth with. A knife for food only. His staff begin making blunted knives. Guests see them. Other noble houses copy him. Within decades, the rounded dinner knife is standard across Europe. By the 1800s, it is standard worldwide. The dinner knife you used this morning to butter your toast is a Richelieu knife. Every dinner knife on earth is. A cardinal annoyed at rude guests changed every dinner table on the planet. By the way, you are clearly the kind of person who finds this stuff fascinating. If you want more hidden stories behind the things you use every day, hit subscribe. Now, back to our story. The sharp-pointed knife never disappeared. It just moved into the kitchen and then out into the streets. Today, knife crime is the most common form of lethal violence on Earth. Not guns, not bombs, knives. 270,000 people are murdered globally every year by sharp instruments. That is roughly 3 times the number of gun homicides worldwide. In the United Kingdom, where firearms are essentially banned, knife crime is a national emergency. Some British cities have banned the sale of pointed kitchen knives entirely. A Richelieu reform 400 years later for the same reason. And yet, you cannot live without one. Every restaurant uses a knife. Every surgery uses a knife. Every home kitchen has a knife. The most common murder weapon on Earth is also what we cannot live a day without. Here is the statistic that ties it all together. The scalpel, the modern surgical knife, is used in over 300 million operations globally every year. That is 800,000 cuts every single day, made by a human hand into another human body to save their life. Heart surgeries, cesarean sections, appendectomies, tumor removals. Every one of them begins with a cut. The same tool, the same edge, the same basic shape as that first stone flake struck off in East Africa 2 million years ago. When the pandemic shut down elective surgery in 2020, surgical backlogs built up in every country on Earth. In the United Kingdom alone, 7 million people were waiting for an operation. Every one of those operations requires a scalpel. Every one. The knife is not an object we use sometimes. It is the tool that keeps the modern medical system functioning. Without it, modern medicine collapses. The knife is older than our species, older than fire, older than language. It is the reason we lost our sharp teeth and kept our big brains. It is the reason we eat cooked meat. It is the reason we have surgery. It is the reason we have war. Every human who has ever lived has depended on the knife to stay alive. And every human who has ever been murdered has been killed by some version of it. The knife kept every human alive, and it killed every other one. If you like this, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and share it. Next time, we go from the tool that cut the first carcass to the tool that felled the first forest. The history of the axe. How one sharpened edge on a stick let our ancestors reshape entire continents. You will not look at a wood pile the same way again. History is everywhere.